9 members of the expedition kept diaries throughout. They all comment on breathtaking sights at sea. On the 3rd day, they encountered the enemy, the huge compacted chunks known as pack ice. The pack stretched to the horizon. It was broken only by gaps of open water known as leads. The challenge was to find a path through the 1,000 miles of shifting leads all the way to the Antarctic continent. Dr. Alexander Macklin, a Scottish surgeon and one of the dogminders, noted the keenness of the ship's high-spirited captain, Frank Worsley, to take on the ice.
Worsley specialized in ramming, and I have a sneaking suspicion that he often went out of his way to find a nice piece of floe which he could drive at full speed and cut in two. He loved to feel the shock, the riding up, and the sensation as the ice gave and we drove through it.
In this era, only a wooden hull could withstand such battering. The Endurance was sheathed with timber so tough it could not be worked with conventional tools. Some days the ice was so thick it held the Endurance back. On others, she made long runs in free water. After 6 weeks of travel, the Endurance was only 80 miles from the continent itself. When she entered a field of heavy ice, the ship slowed to a crawl. The captain recorded a fateful decision.
The character of the pack has again changed. The floes are very thick. We cannot push through except with a very great expenditure of power. We therefore prefer to lie to for a while, to see if the pack opens at all when this northeast wind clears.
But when dawn broke, the men found ice had closed around the ship. They could not see water in any direction. Years later, in a radio interview, expedition meteorologist Leonard Hussey recalled the event that triggered one of the greatest stories of human survival.
On the 14th of February 1915, the temperature suddenly dropped from 20 degrees above zero to 20 degrees below it, and the whole sea froze over and we froze in with it.
A month later, a lead suddenly opened up 400 yards ahead.
And of course we had no explosive to blast our way out, we just had picks and shovels.
For 48 hours, the men attacked the ice. Frank Hurley filmed the exhausting bid for freedom. His diary reads,
All hands hard at it till midnight, when a survey is made of the remaining 2/3. It is reluctantly determined to relinquish the task, as the remainder of the ice is unworkable.
At midnight on the second day, Shackleton called off the attempt.
I could not doubt now that the Endurance was confined for the winter. The seals were disappearing and the birds were leaving us. The land showed still, in fair weather, on the distant horizon, but it was beyond our reach now, and regrets for havens that lay behind us were in vain.
They were trapped beyond even radio contact. No one in the world knew their position. Spring was 7 months away, yet they were only a day's sail from their destination. According to the surgeon, Dr. Macklin,
It was more than tantalizing. It was maddening. Shackleton at this time showed one of his sparks of real greatness. He did not rage at all or show outwardly the slightest sign of disappointment. He told us simply and calmly that we must winter in the pack. Never lost his optimism and prepared for the winter.
optimism was at the very core of Ernest Shackleton's personality. Known to all as the boss, he was a born leader. From his youth, he was driven by ambition and a romantic quest for adventure. At 16, he'd signed on as a cabin boy. By 24, he had a master's ticket. Shortly after, he was a member of Robert Falcon Scott's early attempt on the pole. There, tensions flared among men of different character and class. He watched as morale plummeted under Scott's authoritarian leadership. Shackleton intended to do better. Now his own expedition was in trouble, locked in the pack ice, drifting helplessly north, away from the continent. The crew grew restless. Thomas Order Lees, a captain in the Marines, irritated everyone with his air of superiority. In a characteristic diary entry, he observed,
"I have made a point of sitting at the same table as the fourth officer, and the carpenter, who is a perfect pig in every way. But I have done this to try and accommodate oneself to ideas and ways less refined than one's own."
The dislike was mutual. McNish, the carpenter, was unimpressed by Order Lee's reluctance to do manual labor.
Order Lees is laid up with a sprained back. He was shoveling snow yesterday. The first work he has done since we left London.
Orderlies played a part which is quite essential in any group. He was the man everybody loved to hate. And this is most essential because it's quite important in keeping the cohesion of the group and also in keeping people's sanity. You must have somebody to hate.
To prevent bickering and keep morale high, Shackleton insisted on a daily routine. Everyone, including the boss himself, would work together. Seaman Walter Howe was impressed.
It didn't matter who you were or what you did. Everybody was expected to muck in.